I would like you to, and I don't know how you best imagine, maybe just sat there with your eyes open, that's fine. I would like you to imagine that very real, creative place that you know you can go to, and lightning strikes. Innovation just happens for you. This is where creativity occurs. And to help you define that in your mind, I'd like you to imagine what you can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell in that environment. Everybody got somewhere? All right, fantastic. So 3 questions I'd now like to ask you. The first question, and we'll do this via a show of hands. Who is imagining in that very real creative environment, specific to you, that you're with other people, so collaborative creativity, you're with other people? Just raise your hands if that's applicable to you. So for those of you who can't see the audience, we have about 6, 7, 8 people. 9, I'm multiplying. 9 people raising their hands right now. And that's usually about the proportions that I experience. By far, collaborative creativity is the minority, whereas individual, solo creativity is the majority. That's what I experience, at least anyway. But how does creativity happen at work? Right, everybody, we're going to meet in conference room B and have a thought shower session about this specific problem. For you 9 people, yes! That's fantastic, great, my preferred method of creativity. For everybody else, the other 90% in the room, that's a nightmare for you. Just know that there is difference. No 2 people were created the same. Second question, and this is really just for me because I come from 3 generations of florists. Who is imagining that in that creative environment, you were at one with nature, outside, natural sources of daylight, greenery and vegetation? Just raise your hands really high if that's applicable to you. Okay, quite a lot of hands going up. Yes, and that's because we're naturally revitalized and rejuvenated by what we call the biophilic perspective. Greenery and vegetation, natural source of daylight, clean, fresh air. But in our wisdom of creating offices over the last 100 years, we decided, you don't need any of that. Bit of an issue. Right? So let's look at clean, fresh air. Now, I live in Dubai, so I can forget about clean, fresh air. I'm surviving on AC, on air conditioning for the majority of my time. So typically in the Middle East, everybody gets sick around about October, and again, well, actually around about now when the weather starts to change because everyone's indoors and everyone tends to get a little bit ill. So air conditioning is a bit of a problem. I tell you what that can really help reduce your air conditioning bills and produce oxygen is plants. Now plants ingest CO2, right? And what do we expel? CO2. Of course, some of us more than others, granted. And plants expel oxygen, which of course is integral to sustaining human life and other forms of life as well. Anyone ever tried to get a plant to survive in an office? Pretty tricky, right? If we can't even get plants to survive in offices, imagine what that is doing to the human condition. I was visiting an architecture and design practice in Kuwait. This is going back about 8 to 10 months now. And they had 3 plants in the middle of their room. And you've probably seen these sorts of plants before. It was in a kind of a triangular vase with a tall stem, and the leaves had been pruned into a sphere. You've probably seen something like this before. I forget the name. And the interesting thing about those plants is there wasn't a single leaf living on either of the plants themselves, which gave me a good indicator of just how much that is affecting the people that are dwelling within those spaces. So if we were to go back 70 or 80 years ago to my grandfather's time, and you were working down a coal mine, they may have given you a little canary, bless him, in a cage, and you would take that canary down the coal mine with you because it would sing. Well, when it stopped singing and went belly up, that was a good indication that it was no longer hospitable for human life, and it was time to get out and leave the coal mine. Now, those plants are saying the same thing in a very subtle way. I'm not saying that if you can't get plants to survive, you can't get people to survive, but I am saying that it has an effect. It does have an effect. Even providing fake plants is better than no plants. It is. So in some of the research around healthcare and designing healthcare spaces, because of course Herman Miller innovates where we live, work, heal, and learn. So in our healthcare research, we've observed that actually if you can see a natural setting through a window, you will require less pain medication and you will typically recover quicker than if you are just in a windowless room. In fact, even providing a painting of a natural setting, you will require less pain medication and you'll recover quicker than having no painting or TV screen with a natural setting in there, because it tricks our brains. Plants are so important to us. Third and final question. You thought I forgot, hadn't you? Right, third and final question, and I want you to raise your hands really high if this is applicable to you. Who was imagining in that very real creative environment that they were sat at their desk at work? In the office at all? Okay, now I don't want you to feel bad, because that is exactly the same when I ask any audience around the world. Any audience. Maybe out of the thousands of people that I've asked, I've had about 5 people say, sat at my desk. Maybe 20 have said, in their office. And after quizzing the people who raised their hands to that, I quickly discovered that they were either the owners of the organization or in extremely senior positions. Because I always say, I need to see your desk. I need to see what's sparking creativity for you there. So it's true that actually creativity does not happen within the 4 walls of an office. Now, some organizations don't care about that. That's fine. But if you require your people to be more creative and innovative, which we're increasingly asking our people to be, then I think we need to figure out this contemplation issue. Because creativity is a little bit like drawing water from a well with your hands. By the time you've got it to the office where you need it, you've lost a lot through your fingers, right? Now, I'm not going to ask you individually where your creative environments are. I imagine they probably slot into one of the big 5 categories, which is in bed, in the bath, on the toilet, public transportation, and driving your car. Those are the big 5 areas. And 3 of the reasons why we don't capitalize on creativity in the office is, number 1, time. You've got lots to do as a job, right, sir? Really busy day, lots of things to accomplish, and then your colleagues, well-intended and meaning that they're going to come and interrupt you as you're trying to do your highly complex work. So we don't have time to be creative in the workplace. Second reason is we don't provide spaces to do it. Now, you guys are getting more of those spaces, so you're in good stead. But for most organizations, we don't provide settings to accomplish contemplation. And then third and finally, even if we give you the time and the space, the third one kicks in. It is not culturally acceptable to do that for many organizations. Or if you go and sit in that lovely space that's designed for contemplation, you could be made redundant, especially if you're on your probation, right? So we need to address those 3 factors if we want to get more creativity and innovation from our workforce.